Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Math Club. In this video, we're going to talk about bearings and how to answer questions about bearings. This is a strategy hint. This strategy hint will help you answer bearings without drawing the shape or the diagram. Now, as you can see, this diagram here shows that each 2 points, for example A and B, they have 2 bearings. This is the bearing from A, and this is the bearing from B. Now, if I take the north line on B and make it taller, I will have 180 degrees here. 180. Show you. Yeah, this is 180 degrees. And then I will have this angle in which it's the same as this angle. Why? Very good, because they are alternate. Very good. And we said alternate angles are equal. So this one is 120. Good. Write it here. What does that mean? It means that this angle and this angle are the same because they are alternate, and there is 120 next to it in the bearing from B. This means if the question gives you an angle, the angle, they will say if there's 2 points with a bearing of 120, for example, it means it is here because it's smaller than 180, because this angle is smaller than 180 and this angle is bigger than 180, or this bearing angle is bigger than 180. So if it's smaller than 180 and you want the other bearing, you just add 180 to it. And if it's bigger than 180 and you want the other bearing, you just subtract 180. So the rule here says if it's bigger than 180 and you want the other bearing, subtract 180. If it's smaller than 180 and you want the other bearing, add 180. Now I'm going to show you a question and you will understand it more. Question 10. As you can see here, we have 3 questions. They gave us 2 points and they gave us one of the bearings from one of the points. Now, don't focus a lot on the points themselves. Just focus on the numbers. Now, as I said, the rule says if the bearing that we have is bigger than 180 and we want the other bearing, we just subtract 180. If it's smaller than 180 and we want the other bearing, it means we add 180 to it. Now let's take a look at question A. We don't have to draw it, but let me draw a diagram just to explain more on it, but you don't have to draw it. For example, let me draw it here. Let me leave the answers here. Okay. The space is for the answers. We have A, we have B, sorry. Let's make it smaller so we have more space, yes. We have A, we have B, and we have C. So these are the answers for the questions, for these questions. Now let me draw the diagram here so you won't get confused about the points. We will draw a diagram like this, and north from here. Okay. And another north here. I'm going to make it tall so you can understand the idea of the 180. Because we answered this question before using the corresponding angles rules. Now, this time we're going to answer it using the alternate angles rules, in which these 2 angles, now let me put, where is this is one of the bearings, and the other bearing is here. It has 180 and this one. Like this, yes. So we have two bearings, this bearing and this bearing. And I don't care a lot about the points A, B, C, D, E, F. It doesn't matter as long as you understand that this one is less than 180 and this one is bigger than 180. So let's take a look here. We understand that this one is 180 all the time, okay? It's part of the bearing from this point itself. Now, let's take a look at the question. We said that A, the bearing of B from A is 120. Work out the bearing of A from B. Now, they said 120. Now, 120, is it bigger than or smaller than 180? Very good, it's small. So it should be here. So any angles less than 180 should be here. And any angles bigger than 180 should be here. This is the rule of bearings. Now each 2 points have two bearings. One of them is smaller, one of them is bigger than 180. Now this one is 120, so 120 will be here. Now they want the other bearing. Now if this is 120, it means this one is 122. And what's the reason? Because they are, very good, alternate angles. They are alternate angles. Alternate angles are equal. Alternate angles are equal because both of these lines are parallel lines. And these two angles here are equal because, very good, they are alternate. So this one is 120. It means this one is 122. After finding this angle here, this one, we can find the whole bearing by adding 180 to 120. So 180 plus 120 equals, very good, 300. So the bearing, the other bearing will be 300. So if the first one is 120 here, the other one is 300. Very good. So the answer will be 300. Now let me write it down. The answer for A is 300. Now let me remove this. So again, for the people who don't understand that, we said if it's smaller than 180, it means it's here, as we said. And this angle and this angle are the same because they are alternate. And then we added 180 to this angle because it's the whole bearing angle. And we get the other bearing angle. This is how we do it. Now, if we don't want to do the diagram, it's easy. If it's bigger than 180, we subtract 180. If it's smaller than 180, we add 180. Now 120 is smaller, so we added 180 to get 300. Now let's take a look at the second one. The second one says 240. Now 240, is it smaller or bigger than 180? Very good, it's bigger. So what do? Do we add or subtract? Very good, we subtract. So 240, it means it's bigger than 180, it means it's here. And when we subtract 180, we will get this angle. Now 240 minus 180 equals what? Let's use the calculator and then come back. 240 minus 180 equals 60. Let's go back. So the answer is 60. So this angle is 60. And because this angle is 60, it means this angle is 62. Why? Because they are alternate. Very good. So because this is 60, it means this one is 60. Because they are alternate angles. So the answer is 60. Very good. So the idea is because 240 is bigger than 180, we just subtract 180 to get this angle. Because when you subtract 180, you'll get this one, and this one and this one are the same because they are alternate. Now the answer is 60. Very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Let's remove these. Same idea on any question. When you have an angle or a bearing angle of a number which is smaller than 180, you just add 180 to find the other bearing. If it's bigger, you subtract 180 to get the other bearing. Let's take a look at question C. In question C, the bearing of E from F is 320. Now 320, is it bigger or smaller than 180? Very good, it's bigger, so it's here. And because it's here, we will subtract 180 to get this angle, and this angle is the same as this angle because they are alternate. So the idea is subtract 180 to get the bearing. That's it. So 320 minus 180 equals, we can use the calculator for that. Let's use the calculator and then come back. 320 minus 180 equals 140. Let's go back. So the answer is 140. So after subtracting, you'll get 140, which is the answer, or the whole answer here. How is that? Because when you subtract it, you will get this one, 140. And this angle is the same as this angle because they are alternate. Very good. So this one is 140. Now, to sum this up, as I told you, when they give you an angle here, and they will say it's the bearing, if the bearing of an angle is 120, for example, find the other bearing, you just find out the bearing by simple steps. If the angle they give you is smaller than 180, you just add 180. If it's smaller, sorry, let me write this. Yes, if the angle is smaller than 180, I'll give you the rule here, you just add 180 to it. If it's bigger than 180, you subtract 180 from it. This is the rule of finding the bearing using easy methods. So to find the bearing of an angle or point, if it's smaller than 180, what do? You add 180 to it here. Okay? If it's bigger than 180, you subtract 180 from it. That's it. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.